Shalom, double honors to the apostles of GMS, honesty brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Okay, this is gonna be a quick video updating you on what's happening out there in the Middle East and with Syria and Russia, the statements that have been put in the ballpark. And it's important to note that this article has been put out there on the 15th of February 2016, and you can see that that's 2 days ago. And pretty much what the Prime Minister, Russian Prime Minister, that is, all right, because you got the president, you got the prime minister. All right, the Russian prime minister warns that U.S. and Arab countries invading Syria will start a new world war. All right, and we already know that's what the scriptures ultimately gonna get these different nations to do, pursuant to Joel the third chapter, how the scriptures talks about how the Lord's gonna put it within their spirit to gather themselves within the valley of Jehoshaphat, man. All right, and ultimately we know how that Babylon, which is America, is going to be destroyed by way of all of the interactions that you got out there in the Middle East. All right, but having said that, it's needful, like the scripture says, you're going to be circumspect, lest you be found naked. It's needful to bring these articles out to show you the progress that's happening and showing you that the prophecies are coming to play, man. Because the scripture also says in the book of Second Peter, the third chapter, all right, you must hasten the day, man. You ought to hasten the day. Your conversation is going to be about what? About the destruction of the society, man. Know what's happening out there in the world of, in the world of bizarre, man. Because this is a bizarre world, man. All right, but be persistently involved with, with the things pertaining to these scriptures. All right. So with the statement saying invading of Syria, just before I read a few excerpts from this article, I want to go to this piece of corroborating evidence. All right, and this is from Press TV, and they saying ground troops only solution to Syria conflict. So they're saying pretty much what this, and this was posted when Tuesday the 16th. All right, the same day as this article was published. Okay, so they've, well, not exactly the same day. This was published at a later date than this was. So this was a retaliation to this statement that the Prime Minister of Russia said. Okay, all right. So pretty much what they're saying is the only solution to the problem out there in Syria is the same solution that Russia's warning is going to lead to a world war. So what are these nations preparing for when they're doing military deals? You really think they're preparing to protect their countries? Yeah, they're preparing to protect their countries, but they're preparing to protect their countries in a state of world war, man. All right. That's where you got it to where all kind of drills are being done by the Russians, the Chinese. All right, the Iranians are buying all kind of what do they spend, like 8 billion on nuclear on weapons? What are they gonna do with those weapons? Put them in a museum? All right, they're gonna use those weapons, man. Okay, they're gonna use them weapons. You got it to where, was it South Korea or North Korea? I always forget which one. They've been stopped. They've been advancing their so-called nuclear capabilities and so on and so forth. The Arab nations have always been in allegiance with America, so they always had nuclear capabilities, man, by way of the Americans, and hence you have OPEC. All right, but what they're saying here from this statement is the only solution that we can offer you Russians is a solution that's going to lead us into a World War III. Now, would you know what that is? We call it as the push and shove, man. We get it to where two guys are about to fight. What do they start off with? They start pushing and shoving before the punches and the kicks come out, man. And then kicks are gonna come and they're gonna fly. And they're gonna fly in to use the metaphor, but to put the metaphor in perspective, they're gonna fly as them ICBM nuclear missiles, man. All right. It says Turkey is among the few countries insisting. Right, insisting is an important word, man, in that statement right there, because insisting is not suggesting. All right, it insists that the only way to stop the war in Syria is to deploy ground troops, right, in the Arab countries' northern regions. Right, it says a Turkish official told reporters in Istanbul on Tuesday that the only possible solution to the conflict in Syria is ground operations, but Turkey would not carry out such an operation on its own. All right, so yeah, they're saying it here. I was going to say what they're saying. So they said we're asking coalition partners, named NATO, all right, coalition partners. They don't sometimes they don't really put it out there, but the coalition, they're talking about their partners. They're talking about the partners that are in NATO. Okay, and we know that NATO is what is the beast that is talking about is talked about within the book of Revelations, man. Okay, and it says that there be ground operations. This is the official said, and they're talking about this and taking down and this thing against the war against them. It's funny how this war against them so-called terrorists out there within Syria. All right, they're gonna put ground troops and they need NATO assistance to do so. But they when America was taking down them bloody them so-called, what do they call them? I forget the name that they had out there in Iraq. They did that pretty much. Really, they overthrew them overnight, but they wanted to occupy it, man. Right, so they went over there and occupied it for an extra 10 years. But really, they took out down Saddam Hussein. You know, really, they could have done that overnight, man. All right, and that's the same situation you're seeing here, but only that really you don't need that amount of people to take down ISIS, right? But see, ISIS those are American covert militants really fighting against, Assad's was it Assad's regime, all right? And Assad's down with the Russians, and now you got to where really you're gonna have an all-out world war, and that's what Russian President Prime Minister over there was saying, the statements that he was making, man. It says we want a ground operation, all right? If there's consensus, if there's a consensus, Turkey will take part. So they're saying, look, we're down for that. All right, we just need one more person or two more people to be down with it too, man. All right, you got it to where a couple of guys want to they want to chill out, and you got one dude that says, yo, if you guys are on it, I'm out for the boss, man. That's the same thing Turkey say. You guys are on it, I'm on it, man. I'm ready, man. And it says Turkey is not going to have a unilateral ground operations. We are discussing this with allies. So that's pretty much the supporting statement that you have on that. You see what I got out here. So it says Saudi offers troops to fight ISIS in Syria. Okay, so you got it to where Saudi Arabia, and this was the 16th of February, the same day as this article was posted. So that correlation that they was speaking about here, well, they got the support now. They got it to where the Saudis are in there. So Saudi Arabia has said it will deploy its own troops into the fight against ISIS in Syria and potentially setting off even more instability within the Middle East. See, they ain't gonna set off instability within the Middle East, because it's just seeing from the article. I'm gonna go back to the initial article, man. All right, is that boom, man? That's gonna ricochet and create what we know and what we're waiting for, which is the World War III, man. All right, and hence the return of Yahweh Yahushai, man. But see, it's all in it's all in the time of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man. He's gonna do it at his pace. All right, he's gonna do it. Like the scripture says, though it tarry, wait for it, man. All right, so this thing is though it is tarry, man. Wait for it, man. Wait until the Most High, gets this thing to pop off, man. All right, so it says Saudi Arabia offers to send troops to fight Islamic State in Syria, and has already triggered an array of skepticism, speculation, and uncertainty. With one of the Arab nations' most powerful military, Saudis are poised, right, to unleash a potentially volatile and unpredictable and new element in the chaotic civil war that has already upended competing agendas and shifted alliances. All right. So let me go to this one, and I'll go back to the initial one. So it says Russia affirms World War III possibility, posted 14th of February, just before this one was posted. All right, it says Syria has been a conflicted region with several countries acting on their own interest. All right, in support of rebels, in support of the current regime, or against ISIS. In a number of statements from Russia, the country warns of a new world war in light of the failing peace talks. Right, will World War III erupt? That's the question that you were saying. So pretty much these articles are saying the same thing. All right, and I'll carry on with this one. I'm pretty much call it a day after I read this paragraph here, because you can read all of it in your own time. But I find with these articles, most of the time you can get pretty much the gist. Once you've been reading a few of them for a while, you get most of the gist. From maybe a few paragraphs, and then they tell you the backstories and so on and so forth. It says Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, all right, claimed that a new world war is inevitable if the concerned powers cannot come to an agreement on how to address the conflict in Syria. So, if we cross-reference what it says here, he says invading Syria will start a new world war. All right. So that's what it's talking about there when they're saying if they don't come to an agreement, in not invading them, in other words, man. All right, but if we know they're gonna do that anyway, the Americans have been gearing up and pushing these different nations to do so. They're gonna do that anyway, man. All right, if they're already doing drills, what do you think they're doing them drills for, man? All right, they're saying this is a dry run. Get your mind ready, man. All right, so it says, likewise, the minister also warned that any ground activity from Arab, which is Saudi Arabia, as we just seen there, and American forces could aggravate the situation. Furthermore, Medvedev emphasized how Russia and the United States should apply pressure on all sides to ensure that the ceasefire will persist. And says this is a bad ground um, of offensive, unusually turns the war into a permanent one. It says just look at what happened in Afghanistan and many other countries. All right, so you pretty much should get the gist off of that. Um, you can see the articles with Prepper Fortress. Where did I get this one? Morning News USA, Press TV, and Vocative. You can check out those articles, pretty much for your own self. But pretty much with that, you're seeing what's happening out here. I'll say, all praise unto Yahweh, Shimi How Shai, double honest to the apostles of GMS. All right, honest, you both pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.